Greetings viewers, EricTheCarGuy here. It's a momentous day. We just removed the engine and transmission from the Fairmont, the original ones. Now, time for part B of this process, which is to swap out the K-member. The K-member is the thing that holds the engine in place, also the front suspension, all this wonderful stuff. But since we're going from a straight 6 to a V8, we have to change this out anyway. And since we're going with performance, we're going to replace this with this guy on the floor, who is a tubular option that leaves us a lot more room for a lot of stuff, a little less weight. Also, looks pretty trick. That's the object of today, just to trade that for that. Without the engine and transmission in place, there is a significant amount of weight that has been removed from the front of this vehicle. When I go to remove the K-member and the front wheels and front suspension, even more so. That means this will be really light, the back will be heavy. Now, when it's on the lift like this, I have a concern. And that concern is because there isn't enough weight up here that we go to remove this stuff, and this wants to go off the lift like this. I want to prevent this, so I'm going to support the differential on the back before I get started up here. Since I'm starting work in earnest, yeah, I know. PP vision. I don't want to ruin my new paint job. Yeah, this is the cheaper one. Or, yeah, this is the cheaper one. So I have to obviously raise it up a bit. You are already not my favorite jack. I'm not going to compress the suspension too much, just a little bit, just enough to where I know it's not going to go anywhere. Take the wheels off. Bye-bye 4-lug wheels. Seems like an easy way to keep track of them. I mean, these parts aren't that old, but I'm at a loss as to what to do with this. I don't know how much of a market there is for, you know, original Fairmont parts. Well, that was easier. Now that the wheels are off, we can get a better look at what we need to do to get this out of here. Biggest concern, these coil springs. They hold up the front of the car and they're a lot more stout than the rear springs. I'm having a thought. I think I'm just gonna cut them. I'm just gonna come in here and just torch them so that there is a lot less spring tension. Just gonna remove the struts up here, unhook the brake line, because I'll be using different brake lines. Put the brake pedal all the way to the floor. I probably should have done that before I put it out up in the air and supported everything, which I might do before I get that far. So what I might do is I might take my braces and supports out, get those out of the way, drop it down, open up a bleeder valve, push the brake pedal all the way to the floor so it stays there, and the master cylinder won't let any more brake fluid bleed out, so the system won't bleed out while we work. That'll cover that side of it. Then disconnecting the struts at the top to let those drop down. The rest of it is really just 8 volts. On either side of this coil spring, there are fasteners that hold those to the body. There's another one over here. And then 2 more back here. So that whole assembly is held in by 8 fasteners. And one more thing, we're gonna have to disconnect the stabilizer link, and I'll take these down and out of the way. I'm probably not going to reuse them. And we'll just be able to drop the stabilizer bar down with the assembly. Or I could just torch the other side and take it down separate. It really doesn't matter. Should have done this first. If you're doing this, do this first. And this was viewer suggested, and it is a great way to deal with the problem of, you know, disconnecting brake lines and leaving them disconnected for a while. Just gonna hook my bleeder bottle up. All I need is 1 wheel. I just need it enough to put the pedal to the floor. I don't want to open the door. You know what happens when we open the doors of the Fairmont on the lift, and there's no way I'm gonna have front wheels, so. And that should keep our brakes from bleeding out all over the place. Viewer suggested. Before I go and make fire on the coil springs, I'm a little concerned about fire getting where I don't want it to be. This little protective flap deal here is held in by some plastic clips, and I have a feeling that being in such proximity to it, it could catch fire. Therefore, I'm going to remove it, and there's just little plastic clips that you can pop out. Maybe they'll go back together. Maybe. It's weird to think that all this stuff has been here since 1979, probably 78. I'm not only going to cut the coil springs, you'll notice that the stabilizer link on this side is already missing. That popped out shortly after I did the frame connectors and went for a spirited test drive. I'm going to cut the one on the other side because the only thing holding the stabilizer bar in at that point is this, and I can remove that separately. In fact, I could remove that first before I remove the K-member, and that will open up some area inside here. And rather than trying to mess with rusty bolts on something I'm not reusing, let's play with a torch. There's a lot of grease here. It's all caked on and old. As a measure of safety, I'm keeping this close by. I'm going to cut the stabilizer link first. I'm going to take the stabilizer bar out of there before I start cutting. Give that time to cool for a minute. I am going to save these bolts because I don't know if I have them. It's mine. All mine. Once we're past this hurdle, it's really just a matter of supporting, dropping, away we go. That being said, those coil springs, I am concerned about them, especially because they're above my head and I'm heating and cutting them. I really can't bring this down now because of that. Maybe that's something else that could have been done before I put it up in the air. Anyway, I'm going to sort of hide behind this brake and strut assembly, and the reason being is because when it lets go, there could be slag that goes everywhere. I don't want a chunk of slag going on my head or anything like that. I'm obviously wearing eye protection, but there are other parts of me that are not so protected. Worked fine. I'm going to give it another cut. It's kind of wedged in there at the moment. Maybe I need more cutting, maybe I don't. I think that should be fine, but that certainly relieved a lot of tension in that area. I think once the strut comes down, it'll relieve itself the rest of the way. Oh yeah, that's right. The struts are still connected up top. Silly, Eric. Well, before we drop the K-member, I guess we will once again lower the vehicle and see if we can get those struts knocked loose. I should plan this out better. I'm going to just take this brake line and have it all come out as one piece before I release the strut, because I don't want this coming down and killing this brand new brake line. Not that I'm reusing it. I have new brake lines. At least this way, I've done what I've done. I'm going to be removing these 3 fasteners that hold the strut on. You'll note that there's a rivet right there, and that's for alignment purposes. In order to get this plate off, I need to get that rivet out because I'm putting all new stuff in here. So we drill. Simple enough. It's the easiest drilling I think I've ever done. One more over here. And now the fasteners. Something tells me we might have to break out the pneumatics. I'll try the 1/2 inch first. Nope. Pneumatics it is.
Now witness the power of this fully operational air tool. Now witness as I go and get a 1/2 inch tool. Now witness as I try this again.
Take that! Oh, Loctite. Duh. While the compressor was running, it occurred to me that there's still a little bit of spring tension under there, so I'm going to put this floor jack that you just witnessed underneath the control arm so I can slowly let it down rather than this thing going just gangbusters on out of here. Seemed like a good idea. Now maybe it won't be so violent. That was rather gentle. I will slowly release tension on the jack. Do I just leave them like that? Because there's not a lot of tension here. In fact, there's hardly any at all. And I think I can bring this down okay. I mean, it's almost out anyway. You just have to be careful because it's going to want to flop out like this. The only other thing I could think of is come back in with a torch, cut out another coil, like maybe down here. And that would completely release the tension, but this would still flop out, so that's a tough call. I mean, it's just, nah, you know what? I'm gonna leave it like this. If I need to cut another coil, I will, but I think once I start dropping that K-member down, it'll be fine. I got an idea, for this side anyway. There, that's easier. That side's kind of hooked in. I don't think that's gonna happen over here. I think we got enough though. One last thing is connecting us to the body, and that is, it's called the sector shaft that goes to the power steering rack. I'm gonna be replacing from here down anyhow. And so 9/16. Oh yeah. That should come out of there okay. Feels like it will. I'll leave it with some penetrating oil just to be sure. You know, a part of me is looking at this and thinking, you know what? The only reason that I'm dropping this out when it's up in the air is because it's easier to get to the fasteners, but it's also going to be easier to put the new one in that way as well. If I was doing this on the ground, I would have jack stands underneath the quote-unquote frame back there, and then I'd put floor jacks, probably 2 of them, one under each side of this, and lower this to the ground. You don't have to worry about it falling off a lift because the back end would be likely on the ground at that point. Oh, and there's one more fastener up in here that's holding this power steering line. Don't care about that. Power steering is going away, and we'll just sort of see what happens. But I can do that after I get this part lowered down a little bit, because obviously the weight of that is going to affect how that balances on the transmission jack. The fasteners for the K-member are up in here, and it's really easy. Well, that's not going to be easy, but to get up in here without the coil spring in the way. I'm going to cut the other one on the other side so that I can also have an equal amount of space to get up in here and do what I got to do. And if that just means cutting one more coil, so be it. Ooh, that was warm. Don't touch hot parts. Yeah, don't touch hot parts, because it is hot. I guess the other side, oh, the spring was broken anyway. There's only one fastener holding this power steering pump on. The way it's hanging is kind of jank. I'm just gonna knock that fastener loose and flop everything up over onto the K-member. Like that. Most of the weight is supported in the center above where the spring was. So I'm gonna loosen these fasteners out before I get my support. I think somebody didn't care when they put that in at the factory. Now for the transmission jack, which is now a K-member jack. This is where it gets tricky. Center of gravity for this is actually going to be somewhere in here in this empty space, which means it's going to want to go this way. Therefore, a couple of things. I want to make sure, one, I tie it down good, but I also want to angle this forward a bit. That way I'm working with that center of gravity rather than against it. At least that's the theory. Working theory. Okay then, 4 fasteners hold it in. I'm gonna start with this back one on this side because it's the hardest one to get to. There we go. It's a long one. And I'm gonna do one on the other side also. So that way I've just got one left on each side in the front. I'm not going to take this side all the way out. I'm going to take it most of the way out just to get a feel for it. Here goes. Really glad I have that supported back there because it's making noise. Those both look like the same length. It looks well supported. Slow and steady wins the race. And just as I suspected, I'm gonna get it to tip forward a little bit. That side's totally loose. This side's working on it. Oh, my sector shaft. Don't want to release. Whoops. Didn't mean to push on the power steering pump. Tick tock, tick tock. Clock is ticking. There. Ooh. Don't hurt the outside of the fender. Oh. Okay. There we go. K-member removed. Well, I suppose we need to get this off of here, get the new one on here, and get the new one up in there. This looks heavy. I just had a thought. Duh. Let me unchain this thing. Kind of a no-brainer, right? Now what do I do with it? Ain't no way around this problem. Just gonna have to push it off the legs. Well, there goes a paint on my hoist. Aces. Meet the new guy. This is the way it got shipped with the stabilizer bar, which we can now remove and set aside. Bought this from a viewer out in Washington State. I'm gonna put links in the description of tools and other important information, so if you got questions, please check there. I need to get this from here up onto here. And I think I can just deadlift it. Yeah, it's, I mean, it's, I could probably almost hold it up there. This is a substantial weight reduction, which is good because my block is pretty stinking heavy. Some of you are saying, Eric, sandblast it, paint it. You know, I honestly don't have the time. I just want to get this done. If I want to go back at a later date, well, I don't think it's going to be as hard to get here. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Looks like my bolt holes are lining up. A little bit of my honey. That's not real honey, it's motor oil. Yeah, these are like $1 at the store. And I can't remember where I saw this, but it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Better than an oil can. Start these by hand. I like it. Other side. I don't like that. That's what it bolts into, by the way. It bolts into this. It slips up in there and it pinches between the two. There's a lot of, well, let's just say fudging that you can do. For whatever reason, this side here is off by a fair amount. A Fairmont, just not lining up. Our Fairmont was made at a time, well, things were different then. Manufacturing tolerances, stuff like that, not quite the same as what it is today. I need to open up this side just a little bit more to get that to go up in there. This side actually has a little bit more. You can see how far it's off there. So in order to make this work, I got to do a little massaging. So with this one, I got to open up the K-member. And with this one, also the K-member. So inside of these is what it looks like I got to do. So I got to widen these up towards the center. I am covered in sparkly metal. Eric the Car Guy sparkle. Okay, a little bit more in here towards the inside. I think that pretty much has it. Job done. Other side. Oh, well, same thing over here. These are started in a happy place. Now, just need to, I'm gonna try to center this up as much as I can and run them down. Here we go. I'm gonna jump back and forth for these. I'll do one on one side and then the other and just sort of zigzag. I've got this lined up with a body about halfway on the front on both sides, so it's not out of alignment. I'm trying to get it as true as possible. K-member installed. We noticed that since I made the hole bigger, the bolt sort of slipped up inside of it and it wasn't holding it as securely, so I got a washer just the right size, and that seems to help, and we did the same thing to both sides. There it is, my new K-member. So excited. And there we have it, the removal of an old K-member and the installation of the new tubular K-member. 'Cause race car, slight modification to fit it into the Fairmont, but you know, Fox body. So most of the stuff fits. And I was happy to see that this thing did, because this is the foundation for my engine and my front suspension. I'm very happy to have this up in here because this puts me in a really good place. The steering rack will bolt here. The engine goes here, and I'd like to see that there's two different places that I can locate that engine. That's very encouraging. I may need to go for the front ones because of the length of my drive shaft. But wait, there's more. Yes, you may notice there are a few more things in place now than when I last left you in the video. The reason for that is I've recently come to find that there's a whole different method that you need to go through in order to properly align the K-member whenever you install it in the vehicle. Now, I don't want to leave you hanging on that. I don't have a video on that just yet, but I'll put a link in the description to one that was produced by Maximum Motorsports that does show the process. Outside of that, I'm going to put links in the description to any tools and any other information that pertains to this video that might be useful to you, so please check there. Also check there for a link to EricTheCarGuy.com if you have additional automotive questions. That's where I ask that you go. Google+, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram if you wish to connect with me socially. Post repair videos on Fridays, so stop back and see me then for more Fairmont stuff. Be safe, have fun, stay dirty. Thanks for watching.